Good evening, ELC family and friends. Thanks so much for tuning in to another Sunday evening with the book club. As you can see, I've got some celebrity listeners with me. Mrs. Johnson can't be here with us tonight. We are in Mrs. Kramer's room. She just read our picture book. It was a fantastic book about being kindness, so check out that video. But with me, I have Molly Shire. You can say hi. And I have Eva Shire.
Hi.
They're Mrs. Shire's daughters. And they're here listening to our story. They love the book club. They watch it every week. So they are excited to be part of this as they're listening along. So remember, we're reading Junie B. Jones, our first grade book. We're talking about her class was just bringing in different items. They had their bags, remember? And they were talking about different things that they're thankful for. So we're going to pick it up right where we left off. Chapter 5, Talking It Over. I did what Mr. Scary said. I stayed in my seat. And I thought very hard about what just had happened. First, I tapped on my chin. Then I scratched my head, and I strained my brain, but nothing actually came to me. Finally, I tapped on Herbert. Okay, I give up. What just happened here? I asked. Why is Mr. Scary so mad at us? Herbert did a shrug. I'm not really sure, he said. We dived into a pile of money. Who wouldn't do that? May jumped up and pointed to herself. I wouldn't, that's who, she said. I did not dive into the pile of money. Herb looked at her curiously. How much money squeezed out? May stood there for a minute. None, she said. Exactly, said Herb. May sat back down. Herb said, I have a feeling that Mr. Scary really hates our thankful list. May threw her head back. Of course he does. Just look how terrible it is. She hurried to the board and she read each item out loud. Cranberry jelly in a can, exploding biscuits, Nipsey noodles, rainbow sprinkles, toilet paper, money. I scratched my head again. I don't see the problem. I think we have a nice assortment there. May stamped her foot. It's terrible, Junie B. Terrible, 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 she said. Who in the world is thankful for toilet paper? Are you thankful for toilet paper?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I am. I think I am a little thankful for toilet paper.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that. Sheldon raised his hand. I am, he said. My grandpa Ned says that toilet paper was one of the greatest inventions in history, especially after they put it on that little cardboard rolly inside. I nodded. Yes, that cardboard rolly thing is genius. Jose jumped up. Plus, if you have two of them, you can make binoculars. I make binoculars and spy on my sister. Well, I don't care what you guys say, said May. My mother says that our list from yesterday is ridiculous. She says children are never thankful for the right stuff. She thinks we should make a brand new list. May reached into her pocket and pulled out the list. My mother says that if we use this list, we will win the contest for sure. She unfolded it. Who wants to hear it? Who wants to hear the brand new list my mother started? No one raised their hands. May read it anyway. Our thankful list. Room 1 is thankful for mothers who cover them in blankets with warm, fuzzy love and their hearts overfill with joy. Number 2, we are thankful for our mother's laughter as it tinkles through the air and melts like music in our ears. Number 3 for room 1 is thankful for May. The end. May's list was just about May and her mom. Do you think that room 1 should do all those things? No way. May looked up and grinned. I added the last one myself, but I think it fits in nicely. She folded her list up again and stuck it back into her pocket. At first, room 1 did not say any words. They just looked at each other with curious eyes. Finally, Lenny spoke up. I think we should stick with the Nipsey Doodles. All of the children got relief in their faces at hearing that. Me too, yes, yes, we all shouted. May's face looked angry at us. She stomped her foot again. I knew this would happen. I told Mother you wouldn't listen. She covered her head with her sweater. All of us ignored her. We looked at the board some more. Then, all of a sudden, Shirley clapped her hands together. Wait, I got an idea. Let's put something on this list that every grown-up likes. That way Mr. Scary will be happier with us. I thought for a second. What does every grown-up like, Shirley? I don't even have a clue. I got it. It came to me, Shirley said. Nature. Every grown-up loves nature. They love flowers and trees and mountains and oceans and other junk like that. She clapped her hands together. Plus, every other grown-up I know loves cute little forest animals. Let's put that one on the board. Cute little forest animals. She ran up to get the chalk. Sheldon stood up quickly. No, wait, Shirley. My Aunt Bunny is a grown-up, but she does not love forest animals. Last summer, she had a run-in with a raccoon. Sheldon shivered with fear. For a long time, I mean a long time. Herb nodded. My mother doesn't like forest animals either. Last year we went to the state park and she got into a fight with a squirrel. He looked pretty disturbed. She said a bad word and we have it on videotape. Everyone laughed. Lenny raised his hand. My grandmother doesn't even like the forest. Last year we took her camping and she got her foot stuck in a can. He covered his face in embarrassment. She said she was trying to make can slippers. After that, all the other children started telling terrible nature stories. I leaned over and patted Shirley. Don't feel bad. Being thankful is just harder than we thought. Jose held up his thankful bag. I brought in our TV remote, but now it seems terrible. He looked over at Roger. I wish I hadn't forgotten mine like you did, Raj. Roger squirmed in his chair. Well, I didn't really forget mine, Jose. I brought in a can of whipped cream, but I squirted it all in my mouth before school started. Jose laughed and smiled. Who wouldn't? Just then, we heard feet in the hallway. Shh, shh, shh. Mr. Scary is coming. Mr. Scary is coming, we whispered to each other. Then room 1 got speedily quiet, and Mr. Scary and Lucille walked right into the door. And aha, we did not get caught talking. Mr. Scary took Lucille back to her chair. She fluffed her shiny hair and did a little spin. I didn't even get in trouble, she said. All I had to do was put my money in the safe, and I had to promise not to throw dollars at people anymore. Mr. Scary frowned his eyebrows. I don't really think that was our message, Lucille. We're talked about not bragging, and what we say by having money doesn't mean that you're better than anyone else. Remember that? Lucille fluffed her hair some more. Nope. And then she skipped into a circle, twirled herself right into her chair. Mr. Scary looked at the rest of us. Boys and girls, I'm sure you all know that diving for money was not a good decision. Correct? Correct, we shouted. We did not really believe that, but sometimes it's just better to shout correct. Okay, he said. Then if all of you promise to behave like ladies and gentlemen, we'll go on with the show and tell. We promise, we promise. Mr. Scary smiled. When a teacher smiles, everything feels better. Chapter 6, Something in Common. Mr. Scary roamed his eyes around the circle. Okay, who's next? Me! I shouted. Me, 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 me! May shouted even louder. No, me, me, me! Then she quickly jumped up and reached into her thankful bag. And so I quickly jumped up and reached into my thankful bag too. And then, boom! Both of us pulled out our thankful items at the very same time. And I could not believe my eyeballs, I tell you, on account of me and May brought the same thankful item from home. We both brought the same exact stuffed elephants. It still takes my breath away thinking about it, because me and May are nothing alike. So how can we both be thankful for elephants? Both of us kept staring at this terrible situation. We could not even say a word. Mr. Scary leaned back in his chair and smiled. Well, this is very interesting, isn't it? His smile got bigger. I actually love this, girls. It just shows that even when people are quite different from each other, they can still have things in common. He stood up. That's what happened when the Native Americans and the Pilgrims met each other, remember? Even though they were different from each other, they were still thankful for many of the same things, and that allowed them to become friends. I quickly raised my hand. Yeah, only May and I are not friends, Mr. Scary. Plus, I don't even get Pilgrims. Their costumes look hottish and sweatish. May stepped in right in front of me. Well, I love Pilgrims, she said. I wish I was wearing a hot, sweaty Pilgrim costume right now. I did a little huff at her. If I was an Indian, I would not eat squash with you, I said. Mr. Scary laughed. See, girls, see how different you are? But look, you both brought in the same thankful toy. I frowned my eyes at that comment. Philip Joe Bob is not a little toy, Mr. Scary, I said. Philip Joe Bob is the best stuffed animal friend I ever had. May nodded. And my elephant is my best stuffed animal friend too. His name is Police Sergeant Chuck, and I've known him since my mother brought him home from the store. My mother made this little police uniform for him. See? He has a little police jacket and a little police hat, and look, a shiny little badge. She looked at Philip Joe Bob and made a face. Police Sergeant Chuck does not have patches sewn on him like Junie B. Jones' old elephant does. Junie B's old elephant has been all ripped and torn. I made squinty eyes at her. Yeah, only here in a new flashy way, I said. In Mother Nature, elephants do not wear police uniforms. In Mother Nature, In Mother Nature, Police Sergeant Chuck would not be wearing that. Philip Joe Bob laughed out loud. "Ha, good one, Junie B," he said. "Plus, I love my patches." Me and Philip have the same speaking voice. I hugged him real tight. "Yes, I know you do, Philip," I said. "Plus, the only reason you have patches is because, well, sometimes you and I wrestle. And I accidentally threw you in the air too high and you hit the ceiling fan." Philip hugged me back. "But I loved riding on the ceiling fan," he said. "It was so much fun." "I know it was, Philip. That's how I know you're my bestest friend ever." "Friends do not throw friends on ceiling fans," May gasped. "Riding on a ceiling fan is against the law." Police Sergeant Chuck nodded real fast. You bet. I could arrest you for that." Chuck and May also have the same speaking voice. May smiled. "Yes, I bet you could too, Police Sergeant Chuck." And so Police Sergeant Chuck got right into Philip's face. "I'm taking you to jail, Peanut Butter and John." Then he bopped Philip in the head with his trunk. So Philip bopped him back in his trunk. And then bam! They were wrestling all around in the air. And they were bopping and flopping and socking and thudding. And plus, they were chasing each other around the show and tell circle. All of room 1 laughed and clapped. It was very joyful. And then, whoa! A loud voice interrupted all the excitement. "Knock it off, you two, right now." Everyone looked up. Mr. Scary's face was reddish and maddish, and his hair looked wildish and spriggish. Me and May stopped running immediately. Philip and Chuck stopped running too. "What do you girls think you are doing?" "Well, let's see," I said. "What do you think we were doing, May?" May's voice was a little shaky. Well, right now I think Police Sergeant Chuck is chasing Peanut Butter and John because Peanut Butter and John is running away from him." She glanced at me. "Right, Junie B?" I nodded my fastest. Yes, that's because Philip John did not want to be arrested by that terrible elephant in a police suit. Just then, Police Sergeant Chuck looked at me and shocked. "Hey, you can't say that." Then he turned around to May and hollered, "Cuff him!" And before I knew it, May pulled out some teensy tiny handcuffs out of Chuck's pocket. And she tried to put them on Philip John Bob. But ha! Philip was too fast for her. And then me and Philip started running again. Only this time, Mr. Scary stepped in front of us. And he took Philip right out of my hands. Plus, he took Police Sergeant Chuck out of May's hands too. And after that, he snapped his fingers loudly for us to both sit down. So much for the end of that. Chapter 7. Stinky. Mr. Scary put our elephants on his desk. He did a sigh at May and me, and he went to the board and he thought for a minute. "Okay, you two, I'm going to put your friends on our thankful list, but I'm not happy with the way that you behaved." Mr. Scary frowned, and then he added our elephants to the list. And after he was finished, he read the list out loud. "Well," he said, "this list might not win us the pumpkin pie, but it's certainly unusual, isn't it?" I nodded and smiled. "Yes, plus we don't even care about the pumpkin pie, remember? Pumpkin pie makes us vomit." Mr. Scary looked at me. "Yes, I do remember that, Junie B, but thank you for mentioning it again." "No problem," I said. Just then, Lenny waved his hands real urgently. Oh, here's a little pumpkin pie treat I learned last Thanksgiving. I don't actually swallow the pie. Instead, I just keep it in my mouth until my grandmother thinks I've swallowed it. Then I run into the bathroom and I spit it in the sink. Mr. Scary closed his eyes. Good to know, Len. Good to know, he said. Lucille jumped up and did a little fluff. I have a pumpkin pie trick, too. First, I put the pie on my fork. Then I plop it in a rich, expensive napkin that is on my lap. And I wad it all up. And then I skip into the kitchen and I throw it in the trash. She did a few more fluffs. After that, I don't know what happens to it. And she spun herself back in her chair. All of room one thought for a minute. Stop, please, boys and girls. I get it that you don't like pumpkin pie. It's just that I don't want anyone to be disappointed if we don't win the contest. All of us looked around at each other, and then Herbert raised his hand. But see, we think that you're the one who's disappointed, Mr. Scary. May said that you hate our thankful list because it's not being thankful for the right stuff. May popped up from her seat. I tried to get them to change it, Mr. Scary. My mother made us a brand new thankful list that you would really like. But everybody wants to keep Nipsey Doodles and exploding biscuits. So it's really their fault we won't win your disgusting pie. I looked at her real angrily. I would like to explode a biscuit right on your head right now, I said. Everyone laughed. Everyone except May and Mr. Scary. He did a little glare at me. Whoops, sorry, I said. That was a little too harsh. Mr. Scary turned back to the class. Boys and girls, please believe me. I will not be disappointed if we do not win the pumpkin pie. I promise. He paused for a second, and then his face got a little smile on it. Shh, don't tell anyone, okay? But I don't really like pumpkin pie either, he whispered. Room one was all quiet, and then, we all started laughing at once. Because sometimes teachers are like normal people too. Mr. Scary looked at the clock. Okay, everyone, I think we have time for 2 more thankful items before lunch. Who'd like to go next? Shirley raised her hand. I would. I've been waiting to show this all morning. Then she quickly stood up and pulled out her item in her thankful bag. Snossages, she said. I am thankful for snossages. Mr. Scary raised his eyebrows. Snossages, Shirley? Really? Shirley nodded. Yes, snossages are a little snossage snack for my dog. And last year when my dog Stinky got sick, he wouldn't take his pill to get better. So my mother put his pills in snossages. And then Stinky ate them, and he got better. And so snossages saved Stinky's life. Wow, said Herbert. Whoa, said Lenny. That's a powerful snossage story, Shirley. I know, she said. We were trying to get it into the major motion picture starring Stinky. And after that, she passed around a snossage snack. Plus, she passed around a picture of Stinky. Mr. Scary went to the board and wrote number 9, snossages. And then he winked at Shirley and added number 10, Stinky. Shirley beamed from ear to ear. All of room 1 was beaming, and the day just seemed to be getting better and better. Oh, that's it already? Man, how did we get that far? All right.
I don't know.
Did you enjoy our few chapters?
Yes.
I sure did. I can't wait to see what comes for number 11 for what they're thankful for.
Yeah.
We'll have to find out next week. I hope everybody has a good night. Thanks for listening. Bye.